In a few videos prior to this, we discussed about what is data protection impact assessment. In the last video, we talked about the risk and their impact. In this video, we are going to talk about how to prioritize the kind of risks that you could have with improper processing of personal information and how to mitigate them. Welcome to my YouTube channel where you daily see new content on data privacy. And as I mentioned, we are going to talk about prioritizing the risks and mitigating them through the DPIA, the assessment that you do to find out what is the risk in your data processing activities. So what is DPIA? A systematic approach that you should use to find out if there are any gaps in your data processing activities. When you start a new data processing activity, when you make a change in a process, you should reassess. Indian DPIA Act says that if you have been processing personal information before passing of the act, then you should do a DPIA now. Any personal data that you are processing needs an assessment because there is a huge impact, a huge risk if personal data is misused from your organization. Indian DPIA Act also says that there are 5 processes, and if you are doing either of them, you are liable to be compliant with the DPIA Act. If you are collecting personal data, if you are storing personal data, if you are using it, if you are disclosing it, and if you are destroying it, then you are liable to be compliant with the Indian DPIA Act. It is not only a matter of large penalties, it is also a matter of your market reputation. So you should evaluate being a large fiduciary, maybe every 3 months, every 6 months, just a processor, maybe 6 months to 1 year, but you should regularly, depending on the volumes of data and the sensitivity of data you process, you should keep performing data protection impact assessment for your information that you have collected from your data principles. The risks I have classified into low priority and high priority risks. So what could be low priority risk? Limited data accessibility. Not everyone has access to the data, which could be logical also, but even if it is a mistake where someone needed an access and it's not there, you can now enable the access. It becomes logical now, right? So it's a small administrative issue. It is not a real risk to the personal data. So you can, say for example, some new people join in your privacy team and they need an access to this data, and through DPIA you find that they don't have an access to it. You can enable it. It's a low risk thing. Duplicate non-sensitive data. Duplicate copy of data is not a risk, right? Away from backups, duplicate by mistake. It only consumes extra storage, but it is not a risk. Non-personal data issues cannot be classified as risk. You would say personal is what is data privacy. Non-personal gets intermingled. For example, you issue an invoice to a customer and you believe that it's the customer's organization name and address that is there on the invoice. It's the organization's GST number or PAN number and tax information. But the invoice also has a contact number, and that contact number may not belong to a landline phone in the office only. It may belong to the buyer or the user's personal mobile number, even if officially issued, but a mobile number. So that can become personal data. So there's a very close link between non-personal and personal data. So you need to be careful about such non-personal data also. And whenever there's a change in process of the way you process the data, there could be an impact, a minimum impact, but an impact. So what are the high priority risks that can impact the personal data collected by you? Unauthorized access, right? Some people who are not supposed to have an access do have an access. Where can it go wrong? Well, there are 5 people who have an access to personal data, and they use the personal data, they process the personal data. And one fine day, one of the people changes his department or has already left the organization, and the IT forgets to remove his access. We have already seen in multiple international instances, including 2 case studies on a hotel and an airline. In fact, the hotel one had wherein an ex-employee was still having access to the database, right? So that's a way of unauthorized access, and if you are doing your assessments regularly, then you are careful and you can remove it. Lack of safety like encryption. Someone gets in, reads your data easily, copies and takes it away easily, then there is no security, right? Unauthorized access is also there. Encryption is also not there. So he is able to read it properly. You are vulnerable to external attacks, firewalls and security algorithms. And the third-party data transfer is not secure. Third-party data transfer may not always be international. Generally, we talk a lot about when we talk of international. Third-party data transfer could be as simple as you are transferring your customer's database or your employee's database to a third party who is supposed to deliver them birthday cakes. right? And unencrypted in a pen drive, you hand it over through one of the delivery boys. It is risky. You send them in an email without realizing the correct email. It is risky and unsecure, right? So you need to be very careful about that, and these are real high priority risks. How should you mitigate them? You should take some technical controls and technical steps to mitigate them. Access control. Your IT would say we update it regularly. Fine, they do. And in the airline's case, we didn't realize that IT does it regularly, but the firewall was not, the firmware was not updated, and it became vulnerable for external attacks, right? So who was penalized? The DPO was penalized. So as a DPO, as a DPIA owner, it is your responsibility to validate, cross-check, do drills, check encryption is being done or not, data going to the external agency without, so you can have your USB locks, you can have your DLPs. Data cannot just go out just like that on Gmail IDs, cannot just go out on personal IDs. All these strict security measures should be taken. You should use privacy enhancement techniques like anonymization. I have a full video on anonymization. I have another video on privacy enhancement techniques. I'll tag them over here. You should go through these and see how you can make sure that your setup is very, very safe. And basically, you should apply confidentiality, integrity, and availability controls that IT should do. Your job as a DPO, as a DPIA, as an administrative controller, and you don't need to be an IT person. You are expected to be more of a lawyer and a privacy knowledge person, is to perform regular audits. Share what you need in those audits. Have those artifacts with you that those audits have been conducted and the data is actually safe. Perform regular security drills and ensure that they are performed. It is not that you asked someone and they said, yes, we do it. It's very risky. Have proper data processing agreements with your vendors before sharing any data with them, right? And continuously monitor all the processes and their efficacy and make sure that all data processing activities are well taken care of. That's about prioritizing the risks that you could probably face and mitigating those risks. I hope you like the content of my video. Please press the like and the bell icon, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and share your feedback in the comment section. Thank you.